Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Evita Cooks and Gardens, and today I'm taking you on a road trip to my garden to show you guys how I laid out and prepared this row in the garden. I'm also hoping, weather permitting, that I can show you guys how I direct sow some lettuce seeds into this row, which by the way I plan to sow in stages, because the object of creating this row in the garden is so that I have enough lettuce throughout the growing season. So hoping that this plan works and the way I laid out the rows is successful. If I'm successful, I'll share that information with you guys, and if I'm not, I'll try my best to share with you guys where everything went south. But so far it's looking really good, and I'm hoping that you guys enjoy this video. We added these pavers and stones to the garden this year as a decoration, but also to keep all this nasty Florida grass from entering the garden, or at least to control it, because you still get some weeds and grass in the garden, which every morning right after I have my coffee, I come out and I pluck it out. And that's one way of controlling it too. But honestly, it's impossible to get a weed-free garden. Some gardeners don't mind it. I personally do, because I believe that it actually, when you're harvesting, especially the cilantro, you may not notice and get some of that weed into your earth. When we prepared this area right here, we lined the corners of the bed with some of that material and then filled it. But I don't think we filled it enough, so what I'm going to be doing is preparing this area and laying out more of the soil right here as a top coat, and then into that soil is where I'm going to sprinkle the lettuce seeds, and I'm hoping that that method works just fine. Okay, and I'm going about 1.5 feet or maybe 1 foot wide, and then pretty much up to the top. I don't want to go all the way, because that's when the grass or the weeds will meet, and it could cause those weeds to grow right into the garden. The sun is out now, and obviously it's a little bit harder when you're in the garden. It's not summer yet, but starting to feel that heat, which is the reason why my AC units are on. Okay, so right around here, along this side, I'm going to resoil and get the soil, like I said, about 1 foot to 1.5 feet wide, and maybe right about almost towards the top of the pavers. And this is going to be the row that I'm going to be using for the lettuces, and maybe just behind it I'll see if I can get a different variety of lettuce, or maybe even some kale or something of the sort. So I'm gonna have my husband finish this up for me, because he definitely doesn't want me lifting anything heavy. Here some sort of a dam, and with the help of these stones or pavers, which I'm going to lay out like this, I'm going to level the soil, and I'm also going to sprinkle a layer of this mulch, and that's going to create a wall or a barrier for me. Now, because I am planting my garden this year in rows, as you can see, this is going to help me divide each crop. Now, I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to get 3 rows of lettuces here. If I did that, and I planted it all today, then I would have an abundance of lettuce in about 30 to 45 days, and I don't want that. I want to be able to have enough fresh lettuce in the garden throughout the springtime and the summer. So I have to spread it out and plant them in layers. And what I'm looking is for the garden to not just be nice and plump and flourish, but I also need it to look aesthetically pretty. I like to make everything pretty. So this is one way that we can do that. And what I did is, like I said, is I laid in enough soil to reach maybe about 1.5 feet wide. These are from a previous project. That's why I'm using these, but you could use a plank or some leftover wood, even some cardboard or some of that edging material. It really is up to you. You don't have to run to the store and buy anything, honestly. But now that I'm putting it together, I can see that laying the bricks actually works a little bit better. Let me go ahead and continue this little dam or this little wall, and then come back and then fill the gaps with some mulch. Just using this as a guide. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned, just in a row. I went all the way down to the end, and it's not perfect, but if you have a little bit of OCD and you want it to be straight, I suppose you can grab a ruler and a leveler to verify that it's straight. But in this case, I'm not too concerned about how perfect it is. I just needed to go all the way down to create a dam or a separation between each row. Right around here, what I'm going to do is I have an additional brick, and I'm going to lay it right behind this one and remove this one and fill the gap with the mulch. That might be too much mulch, but since I plan to remove the bricks later on, once this is nice and compacted and this row is filled, I like to do it this way. Again, this is another method that I've been using, just trying something different, hoping that not only does my garden thrive, like I said, but also it looks aesthetically pretty. So I'm going to create a nice row of this beautiful mulch, which, by the way, is super hot because it's been sitting out in the sun for a while. Continue moving the brick, removing the one right in front of it, and filling the gap. The mulch is going to create a separation, but it's also going to help retain some of that moisture. And this type of mulch is also very pretty. The sun is beaming. We're going to wait until the sun went down, but then we may be getting some rain, so I definitely want to finish this today. Maybe tomorrow I can continue planting the lettuce seeds, or maybe even later on this afternoon. Who knows? Let's see, weather permitting, if we can finish this little project today. Coming close to the end right here, and because I have the Yautia, which is looking beautiful, I didn't take it all the way down. I really don't want to compromise the quality of the Yautia. This one should be ready in maybe about 2 months or so, if not sooner. Last one right here. And it doesn't take that much mulch. I am going to top it once I am done arranging the soil around it. I'm going to try and keep the soil on the edge, but it looks good. I don't know. If you guys like what you see and you like this idea, drop me a comment below the video. This looks good. very excited because the sun went down slightly, and maybe I will get a chance to sow those seeds this afternoon. Okay, so the seeds I'm using again are the seeds that I brought back from the University of Puerto Rico, and they have them available under Semillas Selectas UPR, and this barcode right here gives you access to their inventory, and I understand that they ship, I believe, anywhere in the United States. I made sure to ask if I can get these shipped to me here in Florida. So just like the cilantro, I'm going to direct sow these seeds into my garden or into my bed. This is again the first time I use these seeds, so I'm not really sure how successful I'm going to be. And it says that you get a 90% success on germination from these. Cross my fingers, I hope I do. And the way I'm going to lay these out in the bed is, because I want to have lettuce throughout the year, I'm going to do it in 2 rows. The first, I'm going to start all the way in the back, and that way when I come back in about maybe 2 weeks or so and start the second row, by the time I sow these seeds, the ones in the back should be tall enough. But again, that's going to depend on my success in germinating these new seeds into my garden. I'll leave, if I can, in the community page a picture of that QR code and the information for the University of Puerto Rico in case you're interested in these seeds. I'm going to sprinkle some of this vegetable and tomato plant food or granules, not too much. And I always mix my plant food with some diatomaceous earth, mostly to keep the critters from pulling out my seeds. And even though I'm not doing the second row, I'm going to go ahead and feed all of the soil. Diatomaceous earth is all natural, and the one I use is food grade. But when you use diatomaceous earth, if you're doing this inside or if it's very windy, you should always use a protective mask because it is a very fine powder. And just like it chokes the slugs and critters, it could cause you to choke as well. At least it will make your throat very dry. Definitely want to use some protective gear when you handle diatomaceous earth. I'm using this scoop to make a little hole right about where I want the seeds to go. Now, lettuce seeds should not be planted too deep. So with this, I can control how deep I go. And I'm gonna do about 4 to 6 inches apart. And I'm eyeballing it, of course. Later, if you see that they're too close, depending on how much germination you get, you can always spread it out. Following my brother Benny's advice, I'm adding about 3 seeds on each hole. Of course, these are tiny, kind of hard to count, so eyeball it. And then what you want to do is cover them lightly with some more soil. Now, lettuce seeds are very thin and small, so you don't want to overwhelm them. The team at the University of Puerto Rico in Lajas were extremely helpful and knowledgeable. They were very nice and did a fantastic job at explaining to me the origin of the seeds that I purchased and also the different ways that I can try and grow them. They did warn me, however, that obviously the seeds are from Puerto Rico and the weather in Puerto Rico and Florida, although very similar, can impact the end results. Just like I have done all these other times, even though I intend to continue the whole row all the way in the back with these seeds, I always put a little stick with what I planted on the bed just for good measure. But remember that the method that I use is the log method. So anytime I start new seeds or I replant a seed, I go into my log and log it in with the date, the type of seeds, also the information on the package, the estimated germination time, as well as the soil conditions, the weather condition when I planted it, etc. So that's just something that I've been doing for quite some time, and it works very well. I ended up with 24 holes on each row, as you can see, all the way to the end, for a total of 48 holes, which means is 48 opportunities to get some fresh lettuces. Okay, so now what I'm doing is, I should have showed you before, but in the first 6 of these, I did it on the top. And what I'm doing is alternating rows. So what I did is I put some seeds in the first 6 of them, and now I'm going to come back to the bottom row, skip 6, and move on to the next 6 right here. I've already sowed the seeds on the first 6 holes on the top, so I'm going to skip 6 holes on the bottom row and alternate 6 holes between the top and the bottom. This way we will have lettuces growing simultaneously on both sides of the rows at different times. The holes that I skip, I'll come back in 2 weeks to fill them. So that's how that system is going to work. And I'm hoping that this method works. Like I said, it is something different I'm trying. And every time I do 6, I move the little measuring cup to the top so I know where I left off. And now we can just finish by topping it lightly with some soil. Now I made the holes simultaneously, even though I'm not sowing all the seeds at once, but this is gonna help me keep everything even. That's a little bit of OCD on my part, but it also helps to spread out the seeds a little bit better. We have 6 empty holes on the top, then on the next row we have 6 empty holes on the bottom, and so on and so forth. Now to finish, we're going to give it a quick mist of water, not too much, and we're going to remember to come back every day until germination and water the plants, preferably in the morning if you can. If it rains, then you don't have to water them, but we're just giving it a light mist like so. They're very tiny seeds, and we don't want to pull them out of the ground after we've gone through all this trouble. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and be sure to come back and check out the community page for the updates and the progress of the lettuces and the garden beds. And if you enjoy this content and you want to see more, be sure to give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below the video to help us beat the YouTube algorithms, and activate the bell so you never miss out on any of my videos.